Hello all, welcome to Medical ABC. Today's topic is cornea. So what is cornea? This is a transparent, avascular and a watch glass like structure. So what is transparent? What is avascular? No vascularity, no blood supply. So if anyone asks you what is the blood supply of cornea, it's as simple as that. It has no blood supply. And what is watch glass like structure? I can't explain, so I've given you the picture of a watch glass here. So this is what a cornea looks like, much smaller actually. So next is the diameters of the cornea. This is the vertical diameter of the cornea, which is 11 millimeter, while the horizontal diameter of cornea is 11.1 millimeter in diameter. So this is the horizontal diameter of cornea is a little more than its vertical diameter. So vertical is 11 while horizontal is 11.7 millimeter. So if anyone asks you just like this, what is the diameter of cornea, they are probably asking you the horizontal diameter, so you might say it has 11.7 millimeter. In some textbooks it has been given as 12 millimeter. So it could be 11.7 or 12, differs according to the books. So if anyone asks you what is the diameter, you should probably say the horizontal because that is the default. Next is the refractive index and refractive power of the cornea. Refractive index of the cornea is 1.376 while its power is 45 diopters. We have got no idea here, but other than to by heart these stuffs because every structure in the eye has its own index and power as long as it's transparent. Next is about the 6 layers of cornea. Though it is very small, a very minute structure, it has got 6 layers. So histologically speaking, this is no surprise to medicos. So the first and foremost layer of the 6 is the epithelium. The epithelium, being the foremost or the anterior-most layer of the cornea, it is made up of stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and the epithelium itself has 5 to 6 layers of cells. And the main feature of the epithelium is that it can regenerate. So any damage, you should know that the epithelium can regenerate on its own. So just like it's told here that it has 5 to 6 layers, before going into the next layer, which is Bowmans membrane, we have got to talk about the 5 to 6 layers of the epithelium itself, which is the first layer of the cornea. So this is the basal columnar layer of cells. So here you can see the basal cells which are columnar in nature. So I'm trying to draw the nuclei here. Yeah, so these are the basal cells. So epithelium has 5 to 6 layers of cells, the basal being columnar in nature. And then next you have umbrella cells or wing cells, which are 2 to 3 layers in thickness. So after the columnar cells, I don't know where my nuclei went. Okay, so after the basal cells, after the columnar cells, you have this thing called umbrella cells or wing cells. So these umbrella cells, otherwise called wing cells, are named as such because of their shape. After these umbrella cells, on the top, on the superficial part, we have superficial cells which are very flattened in nature. So the cornea has first the basal cells which are columnar in nature, then it has wing-shaped or umbrella-shaped cells, 2 to 3 layers of umbrella or wing-shaped cells, then it has 2 layers of superficial cells which are very flattened in nature. So the superficial layers are very flattened, and the main thing you have got to know about the superficial cells is that they have tight junctions in between the cells. So these tight junctions, what do they do? These tight junctions prevent the entry of fluid coming from the outside to go into the deeper layers. So these tight junctions prevent the entry of fluid or tear coming from the outside to go inside to the stroma. So this is very important. Yeah. So now I'm trying to minimize or zoom out. Okay, all my nuclei are gone. Okay, so this totally is your epithelium. So this totally is your epithelium. So epithelium is not a single layer of cell. It is made up of again 5 to 6 layers of cells, which has the bottom, the basal layer of columnar cells, the wing cells or umbrella cells in between, which is of 2 to 3 layers, and the superficial most, which are nothing but flattened cells which has tight junctions in between them. So this all together is, oh God, this all together is your epithelium. Yeah. Next. So next we are coming to the second layer of the cornea, which is Bowman's membrane. Bowman's membrane, okay, so we were talking about the epithelium, the first layer, which is full of cells, which is full of wing cells, basal columnar cells, and the superficial flattened cells with tight junctions and so on. But this Bowman's membrane, the second layer, is totally different from that, as it is an acellular layer. It has no cells. And next, what it is made up of? It is a layer. It has to have something in it. Yeah, it is made up of collagen fibrils, and its thickness is 12 micrometer. Oh my God, as small as that, 12 micrometer in thickness. And this, unlike our first epithelial layer, this is unable to regenerate. So any damage, any trauma, done. It cannot regenerate. It can only heal, and that healing occurs by scarring, just like any other body tissue we have. So the healing occurs by scarring. So Bowman's membrane is nothing but an acellular layer which is full of collagen fibrils, which is 12 micrometer in thickness, very small, very thin. It is unable to regenerate, and it heals by scarring. The next layer, the third most layer, is the stroma. Okay, stroma, you have to understand this thing. It's very important. It's the thickest layer in our cornea. So we see here Bowman's membrane, it's written, it's 12 micrometer in thickness, very thin. This is millimeter, yeah, more than the micrometer. So this is the thickest layer in our cornea, otherwise called substantia propria of the cornea. So stroma, being the third layer, it is the thickest layer in the cornea, consists of, again, collagen fibrils. What fibrils? What collagen types? Type 1, 5, and 6 are the types of collagen present in our stroma. So stroma, being the thickest layer of the cornea, you can just imagine how much portion it will take in the entire corneal layers. Yeah, the most of it. So most of it, of course, it has to have a matrix. It has a matrix called proteoglycan matrix. So what you have got to know about the proteoglycan matrix is that it is very hydrophilic. It loves water. It loves water. So it attracts water. It absorbs water towards it. But you know that eye cannot accumulate, or the water cannot accumulate in the eye for so long, as it can cause edema, edematous diseases as well. So the proteoglycan matrix, being very hydrophilic, it can cause diseases unless there is another layer present, which I'll be talking about later. So which you have to understand now is that stroma has proteoglycan matrix, which is very hydrophilic, and it has these constituents, chondroitin sulfate and keratin sulfate. And next, the cells present in the stroma. Stroma, I didn't tell you that, yeah, I never told you this is acellular. What I told you was about Bowman's membrane, it's acellular. But stroma, of course, has cells, and they are called keratocytes. The keratocytes are present in which layer of the cornea? It's present in the stroma. So the keratocytes present in the stroma helps in production of the new collagen. New collagen. Yeah. Okay, so it's the thickest layer, don't forget that. Next is the Duas layer. So fourth layer of the eye, of the cornea, is the Duas layer. Duas layer is otherwise called predecime's membrane because it is anterior, it is located anterior to the next layer, which is the fifth layer of the cornea, which is decime's membrane. So since it is located anterior to the decime's membrane, it is called predecime's membrane. Why is it called Duas layer? Yeah, it was found by a scientist, it was found by a doctor named Harbinder Dua. So it's named after him, and it was only found in 2013, very recent, yeah. So Duas layer was the very last layer to be found, fourth layer, very last layer to be found recently, only 2013, yeah. And next, this is also a nice cellular structure, no cells, and this is a very strong layer of the cornea. So this thing, stroma being the thickest layer, Duas layer being the strongest layer. Next is the fifth layer, decime's membrane. So now we know the Duas layer is called predecime's membrane only because it is present in front of decime's membrane. So fifth layer is decime's membrane, basement membrane of the endothelium. So now you know which is the next layer, yeah, endothelium, the innermost layer, the sixth layer of cornea is endothelium. So in front of the endothelium is present the decime's membrane, is called the basement membrane of endothelium. And this layer, what you have got to know here is that it is very resistant to chemical agents, stroma and pathological processes that may occur in the eye. So coming on to stroma, thickest, duas, strongest, decimates, resistant. So this is a resistant layer in the cornea. And this also contains collagen and also the thing called glycoprotein. And the decimates membrane, where does it end? It ends at limbus. Yeah, the peripheral termination of decimates membrane near the limbus is called Schwalbe's ring. This is a very important question in multiple choice questions. Yeah, this is a very important one. So the peripheral termination of this layer, the decimates membrane near the limbus, is called nothing but Schwalbe's ring or Schwalbe's line. Next, the final most layer is endothelium. Yeah, the sixth most layer. Very simple because it has only a single layer of cells, no complications, only has it doesn't have 2 to 3 layers, or it doesn't have 4 to 5 layers. It's very simple as this. Simple as this has, it has only single layer of cells, and they are all hexagonal cells. Yeah, just like this. So what do you have to know about the cells? These hexagonal cells, which are single layer of cells at birth, when a baby is born, a baby will have more than 4,000 cells per square millimeter in its endothelium of the cornea. It will have more than 4,000 cells per square millimeter in its corneal endothelium. And with age, as age progresses, with every year, it reduces 0.6%, it reduces. And by an adulthood, a normal adult without much eye complications will have almost 3,500 cells per square millimeter. So a normal adult with no much eye complications, no much diseases, not so severe diseases in the eye, must have 3,500 cells per square millimeter. So it was 4,000, so it has reduced to 500 cells. It has reduced to 3,500 cells, 500 in number. It has reduced by each year by 0.6%. So this is how much an adult should have. A normal adult should have. So what happens if this goes very low? What happens if it goes below the 3,500? So before that, you have to understand what is a critical density. So you know the M has these many number of cells in adulthood. So what happens if it goes below 400 or 500 cells per square millimeter? If it goes below the 400 or 500 cells per square millimeter, then there is no enough cells to pump out water from stroma, resulting in edema. Oh my god, what is happening here? I didn't tell you about this. Yeah, the endothelium, being a very simple layer, you have got to understand a significant point of endothelium is that endothelium has got pumps. It has got active pumps, which are nothing but sodium, potassium, ATPase. Everything, yeah, you might have heard this everywhere in physiology. Yeah, sodium, potassium, ATPase pumps are present in which layer of the cornea? In sixth most layer in the endothelium. What does this pump do? This pump will pump out the water which is present in the eye. Told you in stroma that this proteoglycan matrix is hydrophilic. It attracts water towards it, but the eye must not have water in it, as it can cause edema. So the cornea should not have water in it, as it can cause edema. So what can do? The endothelium comes like a savior. The endothelium has got pumps, sodium potassium pumps, which will help pump out the water from the stroma, preventing edema in the eye. So these pumps are very important, very crucial in the corneal aspect of ophthalmology, as this helps in pumping out the water from the stroma, which can, if present, can result in edema. So this actually helps. The pumps will help. So what happens if the cells is very low in number? If the cell is very low in number, there is no enough cells to pump out the water, right? The pumps are required. The pumps are required. So are the cells. So the cells, enough number of cells, that is, it should either be 500 or more. Actually, it should be 3,500 in adulthood. So if it is below 400 or 500 cells per square millimeter, it is very difficult for the pump to push out the water from the stroma, which will result in edema. So what is critical density? The definition would be critical density is the density below which stromal edema occurs. Since we know the water is stored in stroma, being it the hydrophilic layer of the cornea, it results in the stromal edema. So which is very required here is the pumps of the endothelium. Next is the blood supply. Like I told you before, there is no blood supply for the cornea. If at all asked by a teacher that you have to answer about something about the cornea blood supply, then you can say that the peripheral, the very peripheral portions of the cornea are supplied by the vessels, and that too they are not the vessels of the cornea, but they are actually the vessels supplying the subconjunctival tissue, which is actually overlapping the cornea. So you have to know the cornea is always avascular in nature. Only if present, only if asked, you can say yes, there are blood vessels only at the periphery of the cornea, and that too which is not supplying the cornea but the subconjunctival tissue, which is overlapping the cornea. Next is the nerve supply. Like any other part of the body, the cornea also has its nerve supply. It is supplied which comes from the nasociliary nerve, which is of the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve, which is the fifth cranial nerve. So a symbol as that, long ciliary nerves from the nasociliary nerve from the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. So if they ask the nerve supply, symbol as that, you can tell long ciliary nerves of trigeminal nerve. And the functions of cornea, every part in our body has its own functions. Cornea acts as a refracting medium. Also, it helps in the protection of the intraocular contents. Having 6 layers, of course, it has to have protection. It has to give protection to the eye. So it gives protection to the intraocular contents. Next is the metabolism of cornea. So we know there is no blood supply for the cornea, but it has to have the nutrition and the oxygen coming from somewhere, right? So the cornea being avascular, having no blood supply, it gets its nutrition from the aqueous humor. Very important multiple choice question. Cornea gets its nutrition from the aqueous humor. So where does it get the oxygen from? Oxygen is got from the air through the teophyllum. So directly from the atmospheric air through the teophyllum, the cornea gets its air. So I think I've covered almost the main portions of cornea. The rest is the development, the embryology part, which is very, I don't like it. So this is all about cornea. So please like, share and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.